Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. We're normally seen at 7:30 Eastern Time, but to accommodate our Joe Rayo, who's on the left, who's been doing all these virtual library talks, probably going to have to name a library for you before too long. Uh, we've been moving the show around from day to day and from time to time, so we appreciate
It all
your indulgence
it
very
all comes
much.
to an end. It'll all come to an end on Thursday of next week if I'm not dead from being up early at 5 o'clock in the morning for the eclipse. Everything should go back to normal after another week or so. It's going to be crazy, especially this weekend, Joe. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I'm going to end up doing in some cases I'm going to be doing like 3 different libraries in one day. So I'm juggling.
Yeah, I did two in one day, but they weren't virtual. I had to go to both of them, and they were
Right.
several hours apart, but they were in the same general
Wow.
area, so it worked out. But yeah, it's
That's the beauty part about doing these virtual talks is I can string together, if I haven't done it this way, but I can string together like 3 in a row. One could be like in Riverhead, Long Island. The next one could be up in the Saugerties in the Hudson Valley. A third could be in Sussex, New Jersey. And I could do all 3 of them virtually. This Zoom thing is pretty darn interesting. It's going to be hard to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing it, the way you just mentioned, having to go from one library to another.
yeah, and you know what? I agree with you. It's a lot better to be able to do it sitting from the comfort of your man cave.
Yes, yes,
Yes. All
it's
right.
lovely. Yes,
Now, my mouse
you want to
just
do this?
my mouse decided to freeze on me for a moment. The Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you
You know,
by.
one night you ought to send me one night you ought to send me the script for the sponsors and have me do it. Although I'm
Well, that
almost
works for me.
I mean
That,
I almost know it in my head,
right. Uh,
but I don't
I'll
want to
you know
I
what?
don't want to flub it.
I'll write it up and I'll send it to you. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. Good place to go to get any kind of emergency hurricane supplies in case you have to do that. And that includes generators, by the way. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. And then, well, you know what? It's not that far away, really, relatively speaking. We're in the 6th month of the year, so before you know it, we'll be singing Jingle Bells. Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist to meet all your decorating needs, whether you want your home decorated or maybe you want to do this as a side business. Give them a call, 631-957-5106. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, also on Long Island. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. And they're also on Facebook by the same name. So just mark it down and give them a call. So we have thunderstorms rolling through right now. Was trying to get my hands on a working radar, but UCAR is completely down, so I couldn't even
Oh God.
pull up the individual sites. But you know what? Um, we have Tornado HQ, and before I bring the radar up, Joe, I want to bring up the I have the hazards map with the current temperatures, and the warm front was just stubborn. I mean, it really had a tough time, and to a certain degree, it's still having a bit of a tough time because winds on Long Island, for example, coastal Connecticut are all pretty much south or south-southwest. So it's in the low 60s, low and mid 60s, with dew points in the low 60s. Now the temperatures have cooled off, but it was in the low 80s where it got warm sectored, which was pretty much from Route 78 south, where temperatures reached up. I saw some readings up at about 83, 84 in parts of South Jersey, and also down into Maryland and northeastern Virginia and into southern Pennsylvania. Also saw some low 80s there. So they participated in the daytime heating, which kind of explains why the severe weather is lining up the way it is. We've got 2 working severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. Uh, One in Ocean County in New Jersey, the other one cuts into up to Monmouth County, and I think this line has peaked out. It looked like it was stronger about an hour or two ago, but it looks like it's kind of peaked out. And you can see what's happening when it's going into there's rain into New York City and the western half of Long Island. There's a little cell in Long Island Sound, but this is what happens when it hits the marine layer. It just sort of flattens out.
Right, right. And I know that there were some projections by some of the models that New York City would be getting nailed right about now with some really heavy duty activity. But as you just mentioned, they're kind of petering out now as we move into the early evening hours. And while certainly there'll be a threat of some shower activity of some sort over the coming, actually over the next 24 hours or so, if you really want to get the heavy duty stuff, it looks like that's going to be petering out completely over the next 60 to 90 minutes. And then there may be a chance for some more strong, I don't think severe weather locally here, but some activity of convection later tomorrow. Then that'll be pretty well moving out thanks to the cold front to our west. And that should set the stage for some pretty decent weather for the upcoming weekend. If you were waiting for a nice summer sultry weekend, I'm sorry. I mean, we consider this to be a 1 week delay in delivery in the weather that should have fallen on the holiday weekend. But if for those who want to jump in the pool or maybe go to the beach, you're going to get your summer weekend here, Saturday, Sunday, and even I think on Monday as well.
Well, you could even throw in Tuesday and Wednesday if you'd like, because the next cold front's not due until then. We'll touch upon that in the long range in a bit. There's some strong storms tonight up in central Vermont, across upstate New York, along and south of I-90, and they extend west-southwestward all the way back to Jamestown. There's the cells where the severe thunderstorm warnings that are up here for Monmouth and Ocean County in New Jersey. That's in response to what looks like a pretty strong little cluster there just to the west, coming out of southeastern Pennsylvania and moving eastward. So I guess the Weather Service is anticipating those cells to hold together there, which would make sense. It's that area has been warm sectored. Further south, there are heavy downpours in eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. There's flash flooding here going on. And by the way, I don't know if they're still up, but there were flash flood warnings up for areas in and around Philadelphia in southeast PA from the thunderstorms when they rolled through. I mean, we talked about this yesterday where the ground was saturated from the weekend rain, and it never really got an opportunity Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday to dry out. It's not like we had blazing sunshine and cloud-free conditions and low dew points so that moisture could evaporate. It was semi-ineffective sunshine, I think we could call it, with all those high clouds, and that kept the ground pretty moist. Seeing some showers, heavy downpours also in coastal South Carolina, some scattered cells in and around the state of Georgia. There's none near me at the moment, thankfully. But head down toward Alabama near Tuscaloosa, some big cells there. Also in southern Mississippi, southeastern Louisiana, and we still have an absolute ton of rain going on for the entire coastal bend of Texas, from Brownsville all the way up around the bend to Port Arthur. It's just pouring in many areas. And some embedded thunderstorms there, and this is where WPC was having a field day with pretty much putting up the same 3 to 5 inch rain forecast for 3 or 4 days in a row for the next 7 days. In the meantime, the rain has just kept piling up, and this is tropical moisture, by the way, that's come in from the Gulf of Mexico that is responsible for all of this. And maybe if this were a little bit deeper into the hurricane season, we would have seen something come out of it, depending on what the conditions are.
Was there somebody last night who was talking about somebody last night on the chat board was talking about a rogue storm heading for Texas? And
well, this was more of an inverted trough, really.
About it.
Yeah, no, they didn't. So that storm, let me just refresh this really quick and see if we can see how much time is left on this. Okay, so the warning, it's 8:39 Eastern time, so the warning that is in effect For Middlesex, Monmouth, and Ocean County has 5 minutes to go. This was a severe thunderstorm warning, and at 8:11, the cell was located over Lakehurst, or about 8 miles west of Toms River, moving northeast at 40, running up at a. Actually, there was a clip. There was a couple of renegade cells that developed ahead of the line that were moving northeast up the coast, and those are the severe cells. And they also have those cells that are sitting just to the west of there. And they did actually have a warning for Burlington and Ocean County as well. That has expired. There was a tornado warning, but not in our area. This was in South Carolina back at about an hour ago for Dillon and Marion counties in South Carolina. And just taking a look here, there's another tornado warning in Maryland, in Hartford, Maryland, back at 6:53 this evening. So it looks like, at least certainly with the storms that are impacting us at the moment in the Northeast, that they peaked pretty much between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. or so, and now they're slowly beginning to weaken, especially as they head northeast into that cooler marine layer.
Yeah, and cooler, that's not a word that we're going to be using too much of in the coming days ahead, Joe. In the Hudson Valley, I've got temperatures tomorrow. Well, tomorrow the temperatures are going to be held down because we're still going to have a lot of cloud cover out there. And again, we still will have a risk or threat of some rain or shower activity. Let's not forget also tonight there'll be some probably areas of fog too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go for temperatures tomorrow, depending upon where you are in the Hudson Valley now, somewhere in like the 68 to 74 degree range. And then here it comes. Sunshine on Saturday, temps ranging from, let's say, 82 down by the Sound Shore areas up to almost 90 degrees for urban locations like Yonkers, for example, or Mount Vernon. And then just go for like 90 on average for Sunday, 92 for Monday, upper 80s to near 90 on Tuesday. So again, I hope for those of you who've been waiting for the warm, if not downright hot temperatures, here they come.
I kind of drew in the jet stream here, what we're dealing with, and the cold front is actually probably on the western edge of the showers and storms, but the upper trough is lagging behind, and there is a rotation there. You can see a little twisting in the clouds, and that's what we're going to be dealing with here in the Northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic states for tomorrow. Actually, for most of the Mid-Atlantic states for tomorrow, because that upper trough has to move through to pretty much finish the house cleaning process that we need to go through. So there might be a few more scattered showers or even a couple of thunderstorms for Friday before this lovely upper high, which is the reason why the front's not going, is because that upper high offshore is so strong. But eventually the trough does get out of the way, and then the ridge will be allowed to build in the eastern part of the United States. The upper high and the ridge starts to build in the east, and of course that is going to bring up the temperatures relatively quickly. In Texas, you can see what's happening here. You have a lot of moisture that's coming out of the subtropical Pacific across Mexico into the western Gulf of Mexico, just shooting right up, and it's just been unrelenting there. With almost a continuous flow of moisture for the last several days, and it may go on for a little while longer. The Storm Prediction Center, there was that severe thunderstorm watch that covered a fairly large area from eastern Pennsylvania to western New Jersey, and then ran all the way south, covering a good chunk of the state of Virginia and everybody in between. But now, much of the watch in Virginia is done. Actually, all of Virginia and most of Maryland, except extreme eastern Maryland, still under a severe thunderstorm watch, as is Delaware, western New Jersey, and southeastern PA. But the rest of the area that was under the watch is done. This is what it looked like when it was issued at this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So. Just looking at the risks for tonight, of course, we had that slight risk. SPC, I think, did a pretty good job outlining the slight risk zone. The marginal risk extended all the way up into northern Vermont, which I think, considering what's on the radar up there, kind of makes sense. And all the way down into Alabama and Georgia and the coastal Carolinas. Again, the radar is kind of uh, verifying pretty well with their forecast. You see the rain on radar that's down along the Texas coast and that small area of marginal risk in South Texas. Also marginal risk tonight from eastern Oregon northeastward through a small portion of northern Idaho into northwest Montana. For tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center has marginal risk up almost to Route 195 in central New Jersey. Looks like they nudged it up a little bit further to the north on their last update. And then it runs south down to coastal North Carolina with general thunderstorms possible from Maine to Florida, back to almost all of Texas, and then on up the Rockies. Another area of marginal risk up in northern Montana. And for day 3, as we take a look at day 3, and this is for Saturday into Sunday, a marginal risk in northern New York, Joe, and much of Vermont and a good chunk of the state of New Hampshire. But no thunderstorms are forecast for us. A marginal risk up in northwestern South Dakota and much of North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. General thunderstorms across the southern states. But I think once we get through tomorrow, Joe, I think 99% of the area probably won't see anything until Wednesday.
Well, before we get into that, I'd like to just share the screen for a few moments. But before
by all means,
I noticed that Janet Dunn is on. We haven't seen
yes,
Janet
is
on the chat board, and I just want to let Janet know. Janet is over at the Westwood Library, and I'm going to be giving a virtual talk for her library 2 days before the eclipse. So I'm looking forward to that. And by the way, Joe, we made these arrangements. You may remember that it was a Sunday. I think it might have been Super Bowl Sunday, where we had like a quickie 3 to 4 inch snowstorm, and that's when Jan and I were getting together and making the arrangements for this talk coming up next week. And I'm thinking back, the cold, the snow, the gray skies, the dreariness. Now here finally we're into June, and here the appointment is almost here. So Janet, I'm looking forward to servicing your library and your patrons early next week. And now, Joe, I want to share the screen. I'm going to do that right now.
Knock yourself out.
The show, folks.
And I just want to say thank you are you still?
Thank you to who?
No, I just wanted to thank Scott Donig, who just hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Scott. He says, awaiting the Ocean County line here in Point Pleasant, my lawn has recovered rather nicely. A week ago, it was on fumes. I'm sure it was. Hope everyone on the chat board can make up for last weekend. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it back. Obviously, for this weekend is going to be the complete opposite of what last week. We're going to be completely at the other end of the spectrum, pretty much.
Absolutely.
All right, so go ahead.
Renata is very happy because she just got back from her German club meeting, and Guten Tag. That's the only 2 German words I know. But anyway, her German club is having this big outdoor membership meeting. They're going to be serving hamburgers and hot dogs and everything else. And of course, she's very curious. Does the weather still look good? Honey, it looks perfect. In fact, if you stay out in that sun long enough on Saturday afternoon, you'll be feeling like the hot dog or hamburger, I think. So it looks good. You're absolutely right, Joe. This weekend is going to be the antithesis, the opposite. We're going to be on the other end of the weather spectrum. But now, on my screen, what you're seeing is the 700 to 400 millibar relative humidity. And this is important if you want to get a gander or get an idea of how clear the weather may be for eclipse morning. This particular map that I have up here now is for 12Z Wednesday morning. So this is 8 a.m. next Wednesday morning. And thank goodness, if this is right, you take this at face value. Thank God the eclipse is not Wednesday morning, because there wouldn't be a chance in for us to see it All of the blue that you see, or the bluish green or aquamarine color, signifies moisture. The deeper or darker the shade of blue or blue green, the cloudier or the thicker the clouds are likely to be. Again, this is in the 400 to 700 millibar zone. This is probably on the order of 4 to 700 millibars would be equivalent to about, I don't know, 3,500 to 10,000 feet or thereabouts, Joe. Right?
Right.
You wouldn't see very much. So now, if we move things along, now we're looking at this is 18Z on Wednesday. What appears to be some kind of a front, call it maybe even a backdoor front, working its way down from the north, probably generating showers and scattered thunderstorms. Again, this is what the 18Z GFS is saying. And then look at this. By the time we get to evening on Wednesday, these clouds and this front is moving to the south. Now we're getting into the brown. The darker the shade of brown, the clearer the skies are. And I will tell you that look at the wind barbs. The barbs are all coming out of a northwesterly direction. And if you look also at the upper level winds on the European, they too are falling into line. And this is why I'm shaking my head, because you rarely ever see this far out, both the European and the GFS on the same page. But they are projecting that this push of drier air from Canada is working its way down. And so when we get to 8 a.m. on the morning of the eclipse, of course, the eclipse now is over, but you get the idea that this entire area here is going to have at least partly to even mostly sunny skies on eclipse morning. And so that would indicate, Joe, and let's hope that it doesn't change between now and then, but this would indicate that we are as Red Barber, those of you who are old-time baseball fans, Red Barber was the radio announcer for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And whenever the Brooklyn Dodgers were in line to score a lot of runs, he would say, "Folks, it looks like the Dodgers are in the catbird seat." Well, I'll tell you right now, if this pattern holds up and works out, we're going to be in the catbird seat for the eclipse on Thursday morning, because this is about as good a weather pattern as you can hope for. And I've got my fingers crossed that the models do not suddenly decide to change. And they could, because 2 or 3 days ago, who would have thought that we would have a front coming straight down through here? I would have thought 2 or 3 days ago, Joe, that high pressure ridge was going to hold forth right on through the entire rest of the week and even into the following weekend. But it looks now like it's going to give way to that front and set the stage for some nice weather. Not necessarily a whole lot cooler. We're talking about, like, let's say near 90 for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I think it's going to be on, if this holds up, Thursday will be more like low to mid 80s. And I think the most important thing is, with the winds the way they're coming down from the northwest, the dew points, which are likely to be in the muggy 60s from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we'll get a bit of a drop in the dew point, maybe back into the 50s by Thursday and Friday of next week.
Pull up the dew point map for this time frame.
Well, why don't I pull up?
Why don't you?
Pull it up. Why don't I? Yes.
You have to.
Is that in thermodynamics?
It might be.
I could tell you. I mean, I know the temperatures are here. Here are the temperatures.
Try going to mean sea level pressure. I think it's the last choice.
On thermodynamics?
No. Go to precip moisture.
Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. 2 meter. 2 meter dew point. Yes, 2 meter. Well, I think this is no. Really?
What?
On Thursday morning, this is predicting a dew point at 2 meters of 48 degrees.
Hey,
on Thursday morning.
Jump for joy. Jump for joy if that's right.
That would be like so incredibly dreamy. I mean, I was willing to say, all right, if it has to be hazy, hot, and humid, at least we'll get that big red-looking sun coming up through the haze or whatever. But this is like, what the heck? That's like an amazing situation if this would have happened. Dry and pleasant air coming down from Canada on northwesterly winds in time for the solar eclipse. We shall see if that pans out. And I don't know whether or not my friend Evan Zucker I know he's not on the chat board, but I don't know if Evan is watching right now. But if he is, Evan wants to go to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for the eclipse, as close to the zone of the Ring of Fire as he can. Evan, it looks like from this vantage point, the Upper Peninsula looks like it's going to have some nice weather there as well. So, what can I tell you? It looks good. Come back next Thursday when we start making excuses about what happened.
Yes. James Harris, thank you for the hit on Super Chat. James had the day off today, so he wanted to see these thunderstorms. So he got in the car and he drove down from the New York City area, from the Bronx, down toward Delaware. And I've got he posted a video here on Facebook of what he had to contend with on the highway a couple of hours ago. Let me just bring that up for you so everybody can see it. And there we go.
And there's Evan Zucker. My friend Evan Zucker is now on the chat board. So that's great. Well, let me tell you something about Evan.
And wait, hold on. But hold on. This was James approaching Ben Franklin Street and the 676 interchange. So focus on the road, James. Okay, focus on the road. And thanks again for the super chat hit. Go ahead, Joe. You were saying about your friend.
Like this. I mean, so many of our roadways are like this. I remember when I used to travel to work to News 12, I'd have to go through exit 12 on the Hutchinson River Parkway. That's in Mount Vernon. And every time we had a situation like what you're seeing on the screen now, I mean, it was like they'd have to just close the road and we'd be diverted off. It'd be like a lake. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. It's unbelievable. Yep. Thank you to the chairman who writes, everybody on the chat board would love for you to lead the Joe and Joe show on a tour for the 2024 total solar eclipse.
God willing.
Not jumping so far ahead, Scott. Scott, let's not jump that far ahead. But what I do want to see, maybe later in this year, and for this to happen, we'd have to have Mr. Chiaffi come back, maybe like in August or September. I'd really like to see, Joe, a Joe and Joe convention. We all meet somewhere at some restaurant or someplace and just get together and, press the flesh.
Well, I can tell you when I can tell you I will be up the week before Labor Day because I have to have my teeth cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another dentist appointment. So I will
look at that.
I will be up the week before Labor Day. So maybe we can figure something out.
So you'll have your teeth bright and shiny.
Right.
And everybody will be able to see you in all of your glory. And of course, you're going to bring JJ with you, right? We all want to meet JJ.
JJ goes where I go. JJ goes.
That'd be great. So yeah, why don't we do that tentatively somewhere in the New York tri-state area? We will see if we can have a Joe and Joe get together in the last week of August. I'm in on that. How many of you on the chat board would be in on that? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
That was a Joe and Joe convention, says Mark G. Just getting back to my friend Evan Zucker. He is a photographer, and he lives in the San Diego area, and he is coming east for the eclipse, and he's trying to choose whether or not he's going to see the eclipse either from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where they would have you get as close to the ring phase, the Ring of Fire, as possible, or in the New York area. He's trying to find a place where he could get a view of the eclipse rising with the skyline of New York in the foreground. And he has looked at this very carefully, Joe. There are two places in the New York City metropolitan area. I will not mention where they are. In fact, it doesn't really matter anyway.
Everybody will be there.
No, they won't. This is the problem that Evan is running into, is the fact that he's written to the Port Authority. He found two bridges that will give him a perfect view of the rising sun and the skyline. And the Port Authority has written back to him and said, sorry, we don't open those pedestrian walkways until 6 o'clock, which is like the best part of the eclipse is already behind us. And he's gone to other places to try to, other with some pull, so to speak, to try to convince the Port Authority to open those walkways before 6 o'clock. And the Port Authority has said basically the same thing to everybody. Sorry, we're not opening until 6 o'clock. Safety concerns. I asked a friend of mine, I said, why are they doing that? And my friend said, knowing the Port Authority, says that's what they do. So,
Yes. Oh, and
uh,
they do it with a lot of zeros at the decimal point is a long way away from the first number on the paycheck. Let's put it that way.
exactly,
All right.
exactly.
Well, let's hope that you succeed somewhere for a good view. WPC on their rainfalls as we take a look at the rain for the next 7 days. Everything that you see on the map for the Northeast is pretty much going on right now and tomorrow. So rainfall amounts going to vary, obviously varying with respect to the thunderstorm activity. This is from 8 p.m. this evening to 8 p.m. next Thursday night. But after well, it does also included in that would be any showers and storms that we would get on Wednesday with the next cold front. Big rains continuing for the
Right.
coastal Carolinas, several inches or more in the next 7 days, extending not too far inland, but far enough inland. And then, of course, you just see that what's been here for at least the last 4 days, this big, huge blob of heavy rain on top of whatever's already fallen. We're looking at big rain amounts here of another 3 to many inches, because that's really the only way to describe it. Is that the way everything is lined up? They're just kind of getting this endless southeast flow coming in off the Gulf of Mexico, and that tropical moisture coming out of the Pacific just shooting right up northward. There's nothing really to shut it off, and there's an upper low down there too that's driving it all. So this is going to go on for a while.
And meanwhile, out west, and you know the scary part about out west, Joe, is that I saw a map. Somebody sent me this as a kind of a guideline showing the magnitude of the drought in 2020 versus the magnitude of the drought right now, same time of the year as we move through late May and early June. And I got to tell you something, the drought right now out in the western United States, for California, for Nevada, for parts of Arizona, it is like something like 3 or 4 times worse than at this time 1 year ago. And you remember, it was like the fuse was lit, and everything just went up in flames in August and September. And I have to wonder what is going to happen when we get into the main part of the fire season later on in the summertime, how that is going to compare to what happened last year. I mean, if last year was devastating and it's already like 2 or 3 times worse in terms of the drought now, one can only imagine what may happen as we get into the latter part of the summer. We're hoping that doesn't take place.
Steve LaPointe just hits super chat. Thank you, Steve. And Alaska Railroad, also known as Dave, he wants to know what breed of dog JJ is. JJ is he's half Aussie Shepherd and half Border Collie, and he's 100% a great dog with that combination. In fact, if I ever go back, I'm going to go back to the pound and just let them know that if they ever get another dog that's like him, to give me a phone call, because I'll be happy to take a second dog like this one. He's a lot of fun. He's work, but he's a lot of fun, and he's a good dog. Very, very, very gentle. So, and he's asleep right now. He loves to sleep during this show. I don't understand it.
You know what? You realize what's going to happen?
Or maybe I do understand.
You realize what's going to happen? You realize that if we do have a Joe and Joe meet and greet, or a Joe and Joe, for a convention, if you want to call it that, and you bring along JJ, you know who's going to get all the attention?
JJ.
It's going to be you and I are going to be sitting out there. JJ, everyone's going to be crowded around JJ. So.
Yeah, Smokey Eater 342 says he's got 3 Border Collies, the best dogs ever. They really are. I mean, but this combination, it's actually fairly common to crossbreed the Aussie Shepherd with the Border Collie, as I have found out. And like I said, great dog. By the way, Johnny Quest had asked me this yesterday, and I forgot to ask you about this. Since you brought up the drought in the West, I haven't seen it. Have you seen anything or any stories regarding the fact that the Colorado River is drying up because of the drought?
I have not, but as I said, this friend of mine did send. He sent it to me. There's this graphic, and he says as a guideline. I really should have went ahead and just made a graphic and to show, and maybe I could do that when we get back on Sunday.
Right.
But I mean, it is bad. Well, we've shown maps from NWS and NOAA showing the broad area of how the drought has become, severe in many locations out west. And again, it's hard for me to fathom this because was it 2 or 3 years ago, the amount of drought in the United States overall was like 11%. It was like the lowest figure we had ever seen in recent history. And you say, oh, that's good. Now we're settling in now. Hopefully we won't have any problems. And literally, like almost overnight now, we've gone from the low end all the way to this. This is like, I can't believe how things have dried up so much out west in just a matter of 20 or 30 months. It's really, really bad.
Yeah. Evan Zucker on the chat board said he was just out in Colorado, on the Colorado River. He says it's definitely low. So are Lake Mead and Lake Powell. So very serious drought out west, and we're going into a time of year where getting rain is awfully tough. So it's unfortunate.
Not if you live in Texas.
Well, not if you live in coastal Texas. So the bottom line here is, with respect to what we're dealing with going forward. And you mentioned about how going back days ago it looked like that we were going to be hot all week, and I always, this time of year, it's awfully hard to string. You got to get it's got to be perfect in order for you to string together more than you can do three very warm to hot days, 4, 5 tops in most instances, without some kind of a front coming through. And I guess you have to always be on the lookout, even through the month of June, for the possibility, especially in the early part of the month, especially after what we went through last weekend. You have to be on the alert that some kind of backdoor front is going to suddenly appear, and indeed that is what's happening. Just running through the upper air, of course, the ridge builds in the east, and that means we're going to get hot. You'll see temperatures up, getting into the 90s in inland spots, starting on Sunday. Even on Saturday, a few spots will get close to 90. But at Sunday for sure, Monday and Tuesday, depending on the surface wind direction. And as we go into Wednesday, you'll notice that there's an upper low that's up in Labrador that starts to drop southeastward toward Nova Scotia, between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So suddenly, the northern part of the jet stream is back into New England and running into the northeast, and we're just kind of on the edge of this. So that's enough to bring a shallow cold front southward. And if the flow is northwest, enough, far enough, strong enough northwest, even though we're on the edge of it, it should push the front through. Now that's going to lift out, and then there's another upper low that comes down from Lake Winnipeg that swings around and cuts a trough into the eastern part of the United States after that front that we get on Wednesday. It looks like something else comes along for the weekend of June 13th, June 12th, June 13th, and dives into the eastern part of the United States. So this is a early summer appearance, and then it's gone. If the GFS is correct, and then of course after that lifts out, and we're still kind of in a northwest flow. Also, I mentioned this the other day, the setup of the ridge in the eastern part of the United States being a bit further north allows for pressures to be low in the southern Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean. And I'm just pointing out that at least on this particular run, there seems to be some reflection of some kind of system very late, around the middle part of the month. This is what we were talking about the other day, that maybe around mid-month we might see something tropical come out of the Caribbean or go into the Gulf of Mexico. The GFS on this run has picked up on that. It may very well be gone on the next run, but just want to at least point out that given the conditions of the upper air, if there's going to be a tropical storm that's going to form, it'll be down in the Caribbean, the Western Caribbean, or in the southern Gulf of Mexico. So, excuse me, 1 second. Oh, what a time to sneeze.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. So checking out the surface, as the maps are a little slow to load tonight for some reason. But here we go. I know Tropical Tidbits was having some problems earlier today with the maps being somewhat delayed.
Yeah, the GFS only got out to 30 hours, and maybe it wasn't necessarily. Well, it probably was a NOAA problem. Something was happening because I have access to seeing the GFS and other models on another site, and I was able to get out almost the entire full run was visible on the other side of the GFS 12Z run. It seems like they have fixed it because the 18Z is now out and is able to give us a clear, shot straight on through all the way out to 384 hours if you're so inclined to look that far ahead.
Yes. So
I also want to say, Joe, that since because of the eclipse, I rarely ever, if look at maps that far out, 384 hours. And the funny thing about this whole thing is that initially, when this coming Thursday came into play, there was like 15 days out or whatever, the maps were showing basically what they're showing now. That there would be some kind of a backdoor front with drier air coming on down. Then all of a sudden that went away, and we had the ridge of high pressure and the heat and humidity. I said, well, that's it. That's probably going to be what we're going to have to settle for. And now all of a sudden they've come back to this idea. And I don't know how many times you've noticed this, where they show you something and a certain type of pattern. You look at it and they say, oh, that's interesting. Then it goes away, and then it comes back as we get closer to the time frame that we're looking at. It comes back. It was evident, or it was showing up way out, like 10, 15 days out. Then it goes away, and then it comes back.
right.
I don't understand why that
I don't know why it
happens,
does it
but,
either. Let me just run through the GFS. We'll run through the GFS surface really quick because there won't be too much to show. Again, Friday, some scattered storms. I put the preset map up rather than put up the radar. And then Saturday, again, west wind. There's a front that actually drops down on Saturday in upstate New York and northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, which is why you see the severe weather risk where you see it. But we saw it on the on the Storm Prediction Center's forecast. Sunday, we should be fine. You see a lot of moisture that piles into Louisiana and up into the lower Mississippi Valley and all in the southeast, but it stays there. It doesn't come up the coast. And then on Tuesday, for some reason, the GFS spatters a little bit of measurable preset Monday night. I suppose we could put in for the possibility that there could always be the isolated shower or thunderstorm, either late in the day Monday or late in the day Tuesday. But in terms of widespread activity, we're probably going to have to wait till Wednesday. And here's that back door that you see right there.
right.
And the low that's with the upper low out to the east that's driving it, and it just pushes on through. And by Thursday morning, that front is sitting down somewhere in Chesapeake Bay and across northern Virginia. So if that's far enough south, I think that we should be able to clear those skies out for the eclipse. And going into the latter part of next week and into next weekend, when that next trough gets involved, then you start to see moisture gather again. And this is for the weekend of the 12th and the 13th, where the GFS model does have some kind of low in front with some showers and storms. And then nice big high comes down, if this is right. 1027 high, Joe, with the 552 thickness coming down for Monday, June 14th. So that'll be a nice air mass coming down from Canada, if that's correct.
I think it was the summer of. I'm trying to think now. Hold on for a second. There's a 2020 and 17. I think it was the summer of 2013 or 2014. I refer to that summer here in the New York area as the Garden of Eden summer, where we just had one huge high pressure cell after another coming down from Canada. We never had any protracted spell of hot, humid weather, and it turned out to be just a glorious summer where you use the I use the air conditioning at the bare minimum, I think. I mean, we used it from time to time, but I called it the Garden of Eden summer because, pick a date, in all likelihood, it'll be nice and comfortable when you step outside. And maybe this is going to be one of those scenarios this year for us. And you know what? It makes some sense. We get all those dry air masses coming down from central Canada and across the Northeast. Well, what forces that to happen? A gigantic ridge in the west, and that could be the hot, high-pressure ridge that keeps the western United States dry for much of the summer and sets the stage for some really dangerous fire weather again, mid and late summer.
Yeah,
Hopefully that will not happen, but we'll see.
Ruthless Goat, who's on the chat board from time to time, he lives in northern Colorado in Loveland. So the next time we see him, we will ask him about it because he'll know about the state of the drought conditions in Colorado.
And before we end tonight, can we share? I want to share the screen one more time. And I think he's off now. My friend Evan Zucker, he said it's din time. Of course, remember he's in San Diego, so for him it's 6:15, not 9:15. But I want to show you a sample of his work and what he's hoping to get next week. This was an eclipse from 2012. He shot from New Mexico. Can you see that?
Yeah, hang on a second, Joe. Yes, we can see it. Should be up on the screen momentarily.
I think this was in New Mexico. You could see these wind turbines here and everything else. And the sun, as will be the case on Thursday morning, but this is with a setting sun. The sun was setting in New Mexico. And this is the same kind of effect that he wants to try to get from New York if he comes to New York. Imagine instead of wind vanes, you have, the skyline. And he's using a big telephoto lens, so the skyline looks relatively small. The sun looks relatively large and huge. And there's the sun. And there's pretty much the magnitude that we're going to have here in New York. 4/5 of the sun, or 4/5 of the diameter of the sun covered by the moon. And that should be just a glorious sight to see if the GFS, the European, and all the other models are correct. That's what we'll be looking forward to seeing at the crack of dawn on Thursday of next week.
I just wanted to say to Alaska Railroad, a.k.a. Dave, because he posted on the chat board about the fact that he lost his dog a few years ago, his husky, that was attacked by a bear. And I just want to tell you, Dave, because the other night, I don't know if you might not have been on the show the other night when I was talking about what happened here, but JJ woke me up at 6 o'clock in the morning with a very distressed bark. And he's an indoor dog, so he stays in with me. And when I went to the front door, because his bark was different this time around. It was a very, very distressed sounding bark. And I looked out on at my front door to my front porch and into where my driveway is where my truck parked. I thought it was just at about daybreak, and I thought I saw the shadow of something large moving, but I was half groggy. When I opened the door, I also waited about 5 minutes before I opened the door, and then I opened it and I really didn't see anything. But I'm pretty sure it was a bear that came on my front porch because he took my hummingbird feeder. And I keep, my dog needs to run, and I had him off the leash up until a couple of weeks ago, and now I got him leashed whenever we go out because I've got, the possibility that there could be a bear, so I can't really let him out, and he's going to chase the bear. He's going to run to it because that's what he does. Yeah. He's going to try to herd it, H-E-R-D, as opposed to hurt it. Also, I have copperhead and snakes and copperhead and rattlesnakes around here too. So the last thing I need is to have him encounter one of those. So so sorry about losing your dog, but I certainly get the emotional. If we all understand as dog owners, and get that the emotional attachment that we have with our dogs is huge. Is huge, and it's very hard to
They very quickly become part of the family, and they become ingrained in your soul, so to speak. I'm still not over the fact that I lost mine 2 years ago, and I know you lost Cody. Right?
Yeah, my Springer Spaniel, about 4 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago, and my cat.
And your cat.
He died like 3 weeks after Cody did, and that was
Right.
that was just crazy. Anyway, let's do some super chat here because I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning because I couldn't sleep last night for some godforsaken reason. Maybe it was the nacho chips I had at 10 o'clock last night with guacamole. I don't know what possessed me to do that. I mean, even while I was preparing it, while I was preparing it, all I kept saying to myself is, "You're going to be up all night. You're going to be up all night." And I went to bed about a little bit before 11. I got 2 whole hours of sleep, and I know I had a bad. I don't remember it, but I had a bad nightmare. And then I woke up and it was half a bottle of Pepto-Bismol was still not enough to get me back to sleep. So anyway, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy here. And I promise you, Dave, I will be careful with the dog. But believe me. Okay, so you've got it tonight to give to me.
Really? I do?
Yes, you do. You should have it.
Oh, I will check.
Because I gave it to you last time.
Oh, you always give it to me, Joe. All right, let us check. Let us check.
Oh, that reminds me, by the way, we have to correct something. Okay?
Yes.
So when Mrs. Eli Wallach called you, okay?
Yes.
Did you not say that you referred to her as Ann Jackson?
Yeah.
It's Glenda Jackson.
Glenda Jackson.
Glenda Jackson.
I knew it was a Jackson.
Yes. No, when you said it, it sounded a little, it didn't sound right. And then I looked it up, and I was like, I knew this was Glenda Jackson. Anyway, so I just wanted to straighten that out because she watches this show religiously. So.
But she still refers to herself as Mrs. Eli Wallach.
Mrs. Eli Wallach. Yeah. But she watches the show religiously. So does the Queen.
Yeah.
She sneaks into the throne room, and she puts on her weather hat, and she's got her AccuRite weather thing going.
Well, here we go with tonight for Mr. Chiaffi from the chairman. The category is top 5 lists, sister to top 10 lists, and since 1869, the 5 hottest summers in Central Park have all occurred since 1960. So you have to name the 5 years, get 3 out of the 5 to win. You know what?
Yeah, well, oh God, I'm gonna say.
So what were the top 5? We know that was after 1960. The top 5 hottest summers.
Right. Is there a margin of error with this?
He didn't give me a margin of error here. He just said.
All right, I'm gonna just try to do it from memory, which is not gonna be, it's not gonna work out well. So I'm gonna say 66.
You got one. Yes.
I'm going to say 66. There's got to be 1 or 2 of them in the 90s. 93?
Yes, Joe. 2 out of 5.
66.
Get one more.
93.
Get one more and you'll get your choice. One more and you'll get your choice from the Spiegel catalog.
If we were doing this 10 years ago, I would have rattled them off. And now I'm
right.
My brain is just sawdust. 77.
No, 70.
Yeah, I thought wasn't 70? Was it 77 where we had like a few days where it got over 100?
I recall. Yes, I remember in 77 we did have a few 100-degree days.
Yeah, I don't think anything else in that particular summer stood out. So I said, 66, 93. Oh God, you know what, Joe? Honestly,
I'll tell you one. Give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. One more in the 90s.
One more in the 90s.
Right.
All right. Well, I said 93. Oh God, I 97.
No, too bad.
Yeah, I
All
don't.
right. You want me to give them to you?
Give me the answers because I'm never going to get the other ones.
You got 66. You got 93. 2010.
Okay.
1983.
Okay.
And one that I remember very well, 1999,
Oh,
which
okay.
was like a torrid summer.
Yeah, that was.
So
Was 93 the one where we went that the city went to 90 like 40 days 40 times or something?
I think it was 39. I think it was 39 times we hit
39
90.
times.
And I think there's one other year that tied 93 for most number of 90-degree days. But I just, like you, I knew that answer 5 years ago or whatever. But as we age,
Right.
the brains. What do they sell on radio to help your brain? Prevagen?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Or something
Okay.
like that. I don't know.
Except you can't.
Question
You
2.
couldn't even remember. You couldn't even remember Prevagen.
Yeah, that's true. You'll get up to the druggist. I was supposed to remember that stuff that helps me remember things.
Right.
I don't even know why I'm in here. Question 2, now for something completely different. Broadway, which has been dark since March of 2020, will turn on the lights this September. How many of the 5 longest running shows of all time on Broadway can you name? And he says, because I like you so much, I will give you the first letter of each show.
Okay.
Starting with number 1, which starts with the letter P.
All right. I will say P would be. Jesus, I'm thinking either Peter Pan or Pippin. Oh God, I'll say because Peter Pan is one that comes and goes. No, is it the longest running shows abroad? Is that consecutively, or a show that's come and gone a number of times?
Well, all he says here is how many of the 5 longest running shows of all time on Broadway, and asking if you can name them. And the
Longest
first one on the
running.
list is P.
All right, I'll say Pippin.
Right. And you are wrong.
Okay.
It's Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, Phantom of the Opera. Okay.
Here's the second. Here's number 2, and the letter is C.
Oh, Cats.
Cats.
And
there.
And let me tell you something. Cats. I went to see Cats, and it was the longest 8 hours of my life. Okay, and that was just the first act. Are you all right?
While you was talking, I took a swig of Poland spring water.
Oh.
And the whole thing almost ended up on my keyboard.
and Joe, that was the first act. It was torture, absolute torture. It was how I managed to sit through that is beyond me. It was look. I know a lot of people love it. It's wonderful. I kind of think that it's no. I can't. It wasn't for me. I hated it. Hated it. Right.
And Janet, on the chat board, Janet Dunn and Murkow, Michael Azera, they all knew it was kept. But now, here is another Broadway show, long running, that starts with C. What could that be? He said in a very windy vein.
I know it's on the tip of my tongue.
Joe, it starts with C, and I said it starts with a very windy vein.
I don't think. C.
I'm trying to give you a little hint there.
I know you are, and it's not helping. Let's come back to it. Go to the next one.
Oh, okay. Well, how about L?
L?
Yes.
Oh my God, hell. Come back to that one.
Okay. Oh, look at this.
The wind, the
You're
wind.
not looking at the chat board.
No, I'm not. It just hit me that the windy one was Chicago.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so number five on the list starts with W.
W. Oh, the Wiz.
No.
W. W. What's the one with
I can't believe that you don't know this one, my pretty.
No. What's the one? It was like the prequel to The Wizard of Oz with the story about. My daughter loved it. It was the story of Glinda
Yeah.
and the Witch of the West. Oh,
Right.
you give the title. It's on. I can't remember it.
Wicked.
Oh, Wicked. Yes, Wicked. Yes. Okay,
Wicked.
So now we have to come back to
L.
L. God, L. Jesus. No, that's another show.
You want me to give you a hint?
Yes, please.
It started out as a cartoon, an animated film, and then transferred all of its
It started out as an
wonderful.
anime. Oh, The Lion King.
The Lion King.
Yes.
Ah, yes, Simba.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now Sunday's show is moved now to 8:30.
Sunday's show is 8:30. That is correct. Eastern time. 7:30
Yes.
Central. 5:30 Pacific time.
Right, because Evan Zucker might be watching from San Diego, so it'll be 5:30 for him.
Well, it could be.
I'll let him know if he wants to join in. But
no, Mr.
The chairman says that since it starts at a late hour, he wants to know from Renata whether she prefers that we move her Briller Jeopardy, Cooking Jeopardy, to the following Sunday, which would be June the 13th. So that probably would be the best thing to do. So, yeah.
I just want to thank Dave, Alaska Railroad, for sharing, that that experience with his dog. It's just obviously deeply personal, but if you ever decide when the right time comes, and the right time will come, you get another dog to love. It's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing.
I was in Dusseldorf, Germany. This is, I think, in 2016. This was part of a group of people. I was part of the group. We went and we flew up to see a total eclipse of the sun. Believe it or not, Joe, up near the North Pole. This is how crazy some of us are.
Mm-hmm.
We came back. We were at the hotel. It was in Dusseldorf, and we were saying goodbye to each other, parting ways as we were all going to go back to wherever we came from. And the guy who organized the trip stepped away for a moment, and there was a young girl there, and she says, "Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I lost my cat, and I waited until after I come back from the trip to take care of his remains or whatever like that." And all of a sudden, somebody else, big hulking guy who was a lawyer, he said, "I've just reminded about the fact that this week, 4 years ago, I lost my little dog, Tippy, and I was thinking that." And then all of a sudden, somebody else started thinking about their dog, and they started. When I swear to you, Joe, when the guy who put the trip together came back, half of the group was crying because they were thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's what they did. Yeah, I'm trying to bring a little levity into this thing. He came in and it was like, what the hell happened here? Like when he left, everybody was like bright, happy, and everything else. He comes back and like half the people are crying. But that you just said, the attachment that you have with your animal, with your little furry friend, it's just absolutely incredible. Anyway,
it is.
You have a good couple of days coming up.
Okay, you too, and everybody on the chat board also have a great couple of days. You got the live Janet done on the chat board. You've got the library talk. Next one is in the Westwood Library in Westwood, New Jersey. Correct?
That's correct. That'll be on June the 8th. That's Tuesday. So Janet, I'll be looking forward to seeing you in the flesh. in cyberspace.
Yeah, I actually
It'll be great.
did I did a talk at that library pre-pandemic. It's a not and
Yes.
it was a very nice library. We had a uh, very good turnout and very good time. So you enjoy. Have a great Friday, Saturday. We'll see everybody Monday. I'm sorry, Sunday. Sunday
Sunday.
at what time did we say Sunday?
8 8:30.
8:30. Okay, I got to write these
8:30
things.
Eastern,
Let
7:30
me
Central.
let me just write it. Let me write it down. Sunday, 8:30. Yeah, I know. We did that. I did that whole routine a little while ago. God, I'm on 2 hours sleep, folks. 2 hours. Okay, I'm running on fumes right now, so that explains it. So we'll see you. We'll see everybody on Sunday evening. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night.
Oh, and thank you for those of you all the super chat hits tonight. Thank you for that as well. Good night.